Africa does not tell our own story. Africa does not design what is in our best interest. Africa still waits to be told what is good and right. And I dare say that that is why Africa does not realize our potential.
I've come across a video of a Kenyan professor, Professor PLO Lumumba, which I find it very interesting. I want us to watch this video. I will be back.
If you should see the convoy of an African minister, not our president, I'm not touching the presidents. The presidents are in a different world. The African minister. The African minister will never queue. Oh, he's anathemic. Oh, the African minister is a demigod. Oh, Africa. The African counselor in your rural home, when they go to churches, not even if it is not their denomination, they saunter to the front seats. And even our latter-day clergymen will invite them to share their wisdom with the people, even if we know that they are village fools. If there is anything that we must learn from Western Europe, is that they have gone through enough problems and they are capable of organizing their affairs, and they have demystified political leadership. We must demystify political leadership going forward. And once we do that, and I think we can do it because I can now begin to see something happening in Africa. Young Africans are beginning to ask searching questions. Africans are beginning to recognize that corruption is a cancer in our body politic. They are beginning to recognize that those who want to buy their votes don't mean well for them. They are beginning to recognize that there is enough money to change their lives if the thieves are eliminated from the political arena. They are beginning to realize that commercialization of politics is a threat to democracy. They are beginning to rise up. And I think that those who have not smelled the coffee will be surprised. They will be surprised when the ground moves from under their feet. They'll be surprised when Africa begins to elect individuals who can demonstrate that they have ideas, because the politics of the 21st century is the politics of ideas and about competition of ideas. In those early days, you will also remember that many African leaders, including the enlightened ones, took the view that because of ethnicity, it was necessary to unite the people. And whether you are speaking from Dar es Salaam in Tanzania, or Lusaka in Zambia, or Kinshasa in what was then Zaire, now the Democratic Republic of Congo, or you are speaking from Nairobi in Kenya, and here in Uganda, the clarion call was that we must have one-party states. And the justification for one-party states was that we are so disunited, there are so many ethnicities, that if we allow multi-party politics, then what would happen to us is that we would be negatively ethnicized, and that we would break our countries, and that therefore, to ensure that there was unity, we needed one umbrella under whose auspices and under whose guidance the people would be united. But no sooner had we sufficiently articulated the beauty of single-party states than Western Europe told us, no, that is not democracy. Democracy means that you must have many political parties. Democracy means that you must have regular elections. Democracy means that you must have the civil society, so that our brand of democracy as we embrace it today, I dare say without fear of contradiction, was not conceived in Africa. It was conceived for us in Paris. It was conceived for us in Madrid. It was conceived for us in London. It was conceived for us in Washington. and we have swallowed it line, hook, and sinker. Africa does not tell our own story. Africa does not design what is in our best interest. Africa still waits to be told what is good and right. And I dare say that that is why Africa does not realize our potential. But yet it is also important to point out that the African and African countries are more resilient than the European states. You know, if you allow me latitude as a guest must be allowed, permit me to say this. The ethnicity that we keep on talking about, African countries are just slightly over 60 years since they regained their independence. Take Nigeria, for example, with over 500 ethnic groups created within an artificial boundary. They have had their problems, they have had their hiccups, but the nation is still alive and well. The difficulties notwithstanding. Take Uganda, for example. You've had your difficulties, you've had your trials and tribulations, but the nation is still alive and well. Tanzania, with over 136 ethnic groups, the nation is still alive and well. There is a sense in which, in the face of our difficulties, we have succeeded in managing those difficulties, however painful it has been. But look at Europe, the pontificating Europe. They cannot handle diversity. They cannot. And it's important to remind ourselves this, if only to energize ourselves. The Europeans have had to fight two major tribal wars. They called them world wars. They were tribal wars. The European tribes were at war with each other in 1914. They may have recruited a few Africans and a few other people, and then they call it World War. Then they had another major tribal war in 1939 through to 1945. They didn't call them tribal wars, they called them world wars. And I want you to look at Europe and the purity of their nation. If you go to Sweden, the nation is almost 90% composed of the Swedes, with a small lapse population, and for that small population, they even have a separate parliament for them. That is how they handle it. You go to Finland, 90% of Finland are the Finns, with small Swedish population. You go to the Netherlands, the same. You go to England, or the Great Britain, whether it's great or not, I do not know. But it is the Great Britain. Even there, if you talk to the Scots, they have something to say about the English. If you talk to the Irish, they have something to say. If you talk to the Welsh, they have something to say. Go to Spain, where there are a few more tribes, they had a civil war. Go to Italy, largely the Italians. And you walk across to Eastern Europe. Yugoslavia was united as one nation under Joseph Broz Tito. Did they not produce many countries during our lifetime? The Soviet Union has given birth to many countries. They have gone into ethnic purity. Africa remains the only continent on earth that somehow, having had artificial boundaries imposed on her, saying that we will retain those boundaries and make the best of it. And one need only go to the pronouncements in 1963, the pronouncements of Kwame Nkrumah and Julius Kambarage Nyerere on the inviolability of the boundaries, repeated again in 1964 in Cairo, in Egypt, that if we choose to redraw these boundaries, Africa will be perpetually at conflict, and therefore heavens have given us a lemon. Let us not ask for an orange. Let us make a lemonade unto ourselves. And we are making the lemonade.
And that was an amazing lecture. He is always enlightening Africans. They have been enlightening Africans. So those who don't know a lot about African history and the pioneers behind Pan-Africanism. If you look for this man's lectures or his books and you read, he has a lot of materials that can help you to understand where Africa is coming from and where Africa is going. He's also the same man who recently collaborated with Julius Malema, the South African opposition leader, to set up a Pan-African Institute in Kenya. So when it comes to Pan-Africanism, Mr. Lumumba is one of the great minds that is pushing and liberating Africans from slavery mentality. He has been doing this for a very long time, and if you really want to know much about Pan-Africanism and Africa liberation, he is the man to talk to. He has been amazing. This lecture has also enlightened me for me to understand that Africa has somehow not bent down to some roots of European countries, like how his last speech, that it's only African countries that has not bent to any artificial boundaries. We are also keeping hold to our culture and our traditions. We are not bending down for a lot of things. You know, if I say a lot of things, you know what I'm talking about. Africa has been pushed to accept some certain culture in our system, but it has been very tough to accept it. So that is something Africa, we are not doing bad, although we have a lot of challenges which we need to address. But when it comes to some certain things, Africa has stand tall, and we are going to keep on standing tall. Please, few months ago, I went to my hometown to get a land to start livestock farming. I acquired the land and I asked my viewers to support me financially to put up structures that is going to help me to start the livestock farming. A lot of people has get in touch with me, but someone has been able to support me, and although the person, I don't know the person names, I wish the person can send me a message on uncutafricalive@gmail.com. You can send me a message so that I can mention his name and thank him for supporting my farm with a certain amount. I do appreciate his efforts, and I hope a lot of support will come from you guys. This farming is going to help me also support some privileged kids in my hometown. So it is very dearly to my heart. So I really appreciate the person who sent me that money. Please, I have left my bank details and my mobile wallet on the description box. So anybody who also want to support with the farming, I will appreciate. So I've left it in the description. I've left all the details in the description box. So anybody who want to support, I will do appreciate. Please don't forget to subscribe to this channel and turn on the notification button so that anytime I upload any great content, you will be notified. Thanks for watching.